Alfred Bernhard Nobel was born on October 21, 1833 in Stockholm and was one of the 8 children born to Immanuel Nobel, an engineer and inventor, and Karolina Andriette Nobel. Alfred, who was sickly as a child, enjoyed a close relationship with his mom and was also an intelligent, lively, and curious child from an early age. Alfred developed a love for engineering like his father, with a particular interest in explosives, the basic principles of which he learned from his father, who was an alumnus of the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. The older Nobel moved to St. Petersburg in 1837 with his family after a series of business failures, but in St. Petersburg he became a successful manufacturer of machine tools and explosives. With his newfound prosperity, he was able to send his son Nobel to private tutors in 1841 to 1842. He taught him chemistry and various languages, all of which Nobel excelled in with fluency in English, German, French, and Russian. Later, Nobel left Russia for Paris in 1850 to both further his studies and also work. There he met Ascanio Sobrino, who though had invented nitroglycerin 3 years earlier, now opposed its use as it was not predictable and could explode when subjected to heat or pressure. But this became Nobel's interest as he thought of finding a way to control the usage of nitroglycerin for commercial usable explosives. After then, Nobel left for the United States when he was 18 and began working under the direction of John Ericsson, a Swedish-American inventor who built the ironclad warship Monitor. Nobel later returned to St. Petersburg and worked in his father's factory. His family produced armaments used in the Crimean War from 1853 to 1856, but could not go back to making domestic production after the war ended. This led to his family filing for bankruptcy and thereafter returned with Nobel to Sweden. Nobel then devoted his time to studying explosives and focused on how to manufacture safe nitroglycerin and how it can be used. And in 1863, he invented a detonator, but did not stop there. In 1865, he designed the blasting cap. Nobel then started working on inventions that he filed for patent, with his first Swedish patent received in 1863 for ways to prepare gunpowder. As of then, he had filed for a patent of his gas meter in 1957 and was still awaiting it. But in his search for ways to prepare gunpowder, a shed that was used to prepare nitroglycerin exploded on September 3, 1864 at his Stockholm factory, killing 5 people, including his younger brother Emil. Despite this tragedy and several other minor accidents that followed, Nobel went on to build more factories and worked on stabilizing the explosives he was developing. This led him to the invention of dynamite in 1867, which was safer and easier to use than nitroglycerin. He kept working on his explosives for improvement, and in 1875, Nobel invented the gelignite, which was more stable and powerful than dynamite. In 1884, Nobel was elected into the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences as a member. Then in 1887, he patented the ballistite, which was next to the cordite, but the death of his brother Ludwig in 1888 became a turning point in his life when several newspapers published an error that Nobel was the one who died, with the caption of one French newspaper titled "The Merchant of Death is Dead." The knowledge that this was how he would be remembered after his death appalled him and led to him making a posthumous donation of a majority of his wealth to establish the Nobel Prize in a bid to leave behind a better legacy of himself. But that did not prevent him from the accusation of treason against France in 1891 for selling ballistite to Italy. He then left Paris and moved to San Remo. 3 years later, Nobel was honored with a doctorate from Uppsala University. In the course of his life, Nobel was issued 355 international patents and established 90 armament factories. Nobel never married and lived a simple and solitary life away from society. Although he did have 3 known female relationships, first to Russian Alexandra, who rejected his proposal, then to Bertha Kinsky, an Austro-Bohemian countess who left him for another lover, and the last relationship was to Sophia Hess of Szeged. This was the longest relationship that lasted for 18 years. Due to his constant travels, Nobel had a strained relationship with his relatives and once wrote of himself, "I am a misanthrope and yet utterly benevolent. Have more than one screw loose, yet I am a super idealist who digests philosophy more effectively than food." Besides manufacturing explosives, Nobel was a lover of literary works and was skilled in writing poetry in English with his tragedy prose Nemesis about Beatrice Cenci. It was published when he was dying, but after his death, the prose publication was all destroyed for being scandalous and blasphemous, except for 3 copies that were saved and published again in Sweden in 2003 with translations into French and Slovenia. In 1895, while at Swedish-Norwegian Club in Paris, Nobel signed his last will and testament, setting aside a large portion of his wealth to establish the 5 Nobel Prizes awarded every year with no prejudice to nationality. Nobel suffered a stroke on December 10, 1896 and died as a result of it. He was buried in Norra, Begravningsplatsen, Stockholm. The Sveriges Riksbank of Sweden celebrates its 300th anniversary in 1968 by donating large amount of money to the Nobel Foundation to be used to set up a 6th prize for economics in honor of Alfred Nobel. But Nobel's great-nephew, Peter Nobel, declined this, stating that the bank should differentiate the award with a title in Alfred Nobel's memory from the other 5 awards Nobel originally established. In honor of him, a monument of Alfred Nobel was dedicated in 1991 at St. Petersburg to mark the 90th anniversary of the first Nobel Prize presentation. Thank you very much for watching our videos. We'll appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends. We love you.